In this video, I'm going to give my initial impressions on the DOCRace turbo kit for the B58. I've had it on for about 2 weeks and I've been driving it probably a lot more than I normally would with temps as cold as they are outside, just to try to get some initial data and get a feel for the car, let everything break in. Let's talk about the changes I've made real quick. First thing, everybody was very worried about me driving without like a turbo blanket and having the downpipe wrapped. And I did finally do that. The only reason it wasn't done in my DIY video was because I was rushing and excited to get it on. And when I realized I had forgotten to do it, I was past the point of caring at that time. I really just wanted to get the kit on, get everything going, drive the car and feel it out. So once I had actually taken it for a couple drives, then I took the downpipe off, wrapped it, put the turbo blanket on, and then got everything bolted back up. It is very difficult to do the turbo blanket with everything attached, just because you can see it's really close to the wastegate arm. I kind of had to use a trim tool to tuck it back there and get it out of the way, but it's just really tight back there. Once you get the wastegate arm on, you'll see how close it is to the turbo housing. So that's just something that you'll have to disconnect the arm again, get everything lined up, and reconnect the arm. But other than that, everything fit pretty well. It does smoke a little bit, like I said before, and so just kind of drive it over and over, go through some heat cycles, and that'll go away. The other nice thing about it is, you know, the turbo blanket can be a hazard if you have an oil leak. Sometimes people have had the turbo blanket soak up oil if you have any leaks at the lines or anything like that. And then when it gets really hot, it can ignite. So I thought it was nice to make sure I didn't have any oil leaks while driving the car before putting the turbo blanket on. So you can kind of use your best judgment on that. I've also had people ask me if the engine cover will fit with the turbo. So this is just to confirm that it does. And then issues I had. So the first thing is this charge pipe was rubbing a little bit. And you can see it's still pretty close, but it actually slipped. And I mentioned that in my DIY video to make sure you had enough clearance. So I pushed it in tighter into that silicone and into the silicone. It's kind of got like a triangle effect. So pushing it into both will pull it farther away from the shroud. And then I just really cranked down on the clamps to help prevent it from slipping out again. So just make sure you get as much clearance there as possible and really tighten down those clamps so it doesn't slip off. Also, I had some leaking on this coolant line initially. When I checked this line, I saw some dried up coolant coming down that hose. What I did was I tightened it down. I think the issue was I was concerned with tightening it too much because the hose rotates a little bit and begins to touch the wastegate arm if it goes too far. So I used a tool to just keep it aligned straight so it's pointed in the right direction, and then again really tighten down on that fitting. As a reminder, if you have any of these lines leaking, don't put Teflon tape on it or any kind of grease or anything. The threads do not seal those fittings. It's an AN fitting, so it seals under compression. What you need to do is tighten it more or make sure there aren't any like nicks or anything on the interfacing surface that could cause a leak. But putting stuff on the threads was not going to fix any leaks that you could have around there. Also, make sure you just keep an eye on your coolant. I did have to top mine off once after driving the car and just putting it through different scenarios and different RPM. So it'll continue to bleed the system a little bit. So yeah, after you go on a drive or two, check it again, top it off as needed, and then you'll be good to go. Also, I've had some people ask me if I have a fire extinguisher, and I think a lot of people are like me. They're seeing more and more cars on Instagram and stuff catch on fire, whether they're having electrical issues or whatever. So yeah, I freaked out about that a little bit and went ahead and got a fire extinguisher myself just for my peace of mind. This is the one that I have. It's made by a company called Element. So you can see how small it is. It's really nice and compact. I bought it just to kind of fit in my glove box or put it in the trunk. So I don't need like some crazy bracket under my seat with, you know, a huge fire extinguisher. And also this one does not expire, so you know you never really have to replace it if you don't use it. But this isn't an ad for them or anything. It's just something I think the car industry is slowly catching on to because it's been in production for a little while and it works in your home or anywhere. But it's nice for a street car where you can kind of tuck it out of the way and have it in case you do need it in that kind of horrible situation. Another thing somebody asked me was about this intake filter. If you need to replace it or clean it, what do you do? And in this case, you're going to have to lift the turbo. There's really no way around it. If you're in a 1 series or a 2 series, like I said in my other video, there's more room to the radiator support bracket. So you can probably take the intake off without lifting the turbo. But on the 3 and 4 series, for sure, you're going to have to get those 4 bolts, lift the turbo up, and then take the intake off. So it's really not that hard. Ultimately, it's really just taking off those bolts so that you can lift the turbo, because all of the other lines and stuff have enough slack to do that. But yeah, it's not as easy as you would think it would be if you had enough space just to take the intake off the front of the turbo. So right now I'm just driving it on an off-the-shelf map until I get my custom tune set up. I'll be posting some data on that as well. It's running the Stage 2 Plus E30 map, and it's running great. I kind of explained in my DIY video, that's one of the reasons why I picked this kit, is because it works great with off-the-shelf maps. So I'll post some data to support that in the future. But yeah, basically just drive the car, keep an eye on everything. You know, the big benefit of this kit is having everything right on top, so you can constantly check for oil leaks, coolant leaks, any rubbing or fitment issues, make sure there aren't any boost leaks, things like that. And once you get good confidence in the car, go ahead and begin your custom tuning. So I hope this video helps. If you guys have any other questions or comments, leave them down below. Thanks.